Welcome to the Midwest Flyways podcast. I'm your host, Cal Ness. I have Carter Deny with me. Carter, what's up?
What's up?
We're in a little bit different scenario, as you can obviously tell from the normal studio. Joey and his family have been kind of sick, so me and Carter are avoiding that, and we are in my garage right now. We're in the nice, beautiful...
New Midwest Flyways studio.
The new Midwest Flyways studio. We set up
every
anywhere
week.
now, dude.
Yep.
We can be mobile. 100% mobile. 100p. I had to go there. But thank you guys for listening. This podcast is brought to you by First Light, and First Light is making some of the coolest gear in waterfowl right now. You can go to their website, firstlight.com. See how that First Light.
Yep. On purpose.
It's a whole thing. But go to their website, firstlight.com. Joey and I have been testing out these products for a few years now, and we have stuff that we're testing out right now that you guys are going to be able to see next season, including the waders. And I'm telling you guys, some of the stuff that we've had is unbelievable, so go check it out. You won't be disappointed in anything that's merino wool without question. Warmest wader pants I've worn. So,
True.
Carter, we're going to Canada soon.
We are.
In fact, when this podcast comes out, we will be in Canada.
Yep.
I'm not going to say anything else.
Hopefully they'll see it on the story.
Hopefully they'll see it on the story. It's a good call.
Hopefully.
I like that. But that said, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is different about Canada. And in general, like, what is different that you can't really understand until you just go. Because you hear all the stories about Canada, and you hear people always just talk about how insane it is, you know, and then there's like that random off person who you'll talk to that'll be like, man, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you first went to Canada, what was your thought?
So I've been 2 places in Canada.
Yep.
I've been Manitoba
and
Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Saskatchewan, it just seemed like North Dakota. Huge fields, lots of birds, lots of little potholes everywhere.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a better North Dakota.
Yeah.
If I had to put it that way.
Yeah.
Manitoba, on the other hand, meh. It was, when I went at least, the birds weren't really there, and they had good weather, so they probably should have been. And then the fields, it seemed more like a Minnesota hunt. I mean, they're just straight north of us, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It was more like Minnesota terrain, but Saskatchewan, unbelievable. I mean, the size of the fields, the amount of the birds that just keep coming in the morning, unreal.
Yeah. The thing is, right, when you hear people talk about how many birds are in Canada, it's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
Like, if you've never been there and haven't seen it, it's a little bit hard to kind of fathom that, especially if you're like us, you know, and you've been hunting your whole life in Minnesota, going and seeing how many birds are actually in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, Winnipeg, you know, wherever you're at, right? Like,
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Alberta, like, all of our birds come from there.
Yep.
So imagine, you know, how dispersed they get when they get to the U.S. They're not as dispersed in Canada.
No, they're all in one place.
They're much more clumped up, you know? So, in general, I'm telling you, the number one thing that is most shocking about going to Canada is the amount of birds.
Yeah.
The amount of birds that you can see when you're just out scouting around. It's just truly remarkable, too, because when you scout in the U.S., you're legitimately like, even in like the best spots in the United States, when you find a feed, now depending, obviously there's parts of the country that depending on the time of the year during the migration and stuff, like it can feel probably a lot like Canada. I mean, you can go to North Dakota at the right time on the right weekend and it can feel like you're in Canada.
Yep.
But imagine that, like, the best weekend you've ever had for opportunity in North Dakota, that's every weekend in Canada until they leave.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for their opener, and then we went like a month and a half later.
Yeah.
It was the same situation for
Totally.
birds. Unreal.
It's insane. It's insane.
If I had to like just put a pin on a map and say you have to hunt that field, no scouting, I wouldn't be worried in Canada.
I wouldn't be scared.
No.
I mean, like, again, if you're not hunting an X field, like, that's obviously not ideal.
No, but you're going to have way more opportunity to traffic.
Oh, yeah. And you could throw a pin on a map. in the right areas of Canada, and you'd be more successful for sure than if you were doing traffic hunting and you had a pretty good idea of something in, North Dakota or something.
When you're scouting up in Canada, you see a feed of 1,000 and you keep driving.
That's the thing, right?
That's the crazy thing.
And that's the crazy thing. When you're out scouting, it's not boring.
No.
You're not driving for hours to try to find a good feed and get permission on it. It's like you're picking and choosing which feeds have more birds.
You're not finding a field, you're finding the field.
That's right. It's just it is a different mentality a little bit. And like I said, if you're in North Dakota at the right times, if you're in some of these other places at the right times, it can totally be like that, where you are finding the right field, because you could walk into a few different spots and be successful and have a great hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But it just feels like that's kind of, that was my vibe, at least when I was in Canada last year, was just like, okay, we have just endless opportunity.
Yep.
I think another thing too is like you have opportunities to hunt and be successful in Canada even if you don't have a guide. I'm just going to go out and say it. You absolutely are going to have to put miles on. Like, you're going to have to scout for sure. You're going to have to go around and ask a lot of people for permission, but you definitely have an opportunity to go out there and be successful. I think that, and I'm only saying this because I think before I went to Canada and saw what it was all about, saw how many birds there were, and just kind of figuring that situation out a little bit, it can be a little bit daunting,
mm-hmm.
especially because you're going to another place, an international country, and it doesn't feel like you're in an international country really.
No.
But it is, so you have to cross a border, and I wanted to talk a little too about like kind of the process of going through that, like some tips and tricks and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill out a declaration for your firearm. Is it called a declaration?
I think so, yep.
I think it is, and if I'm wrong, it'll be very obvious when you Google it, but you have to declare what firearms are coming in, which means you have to print this sheet off. You have to fill it out. It gives very specific instructions. It's like a serial number, what shotgun you have, whatever. You have to fill that out, and you have to have it with you and ready when you go through the border. And if you don't, you won't be going into Canada.
Yep.
Which I've heard of guys getting up there and then realizing they don't have the proper paperwork, and that sucks. So definitely figure out like all the legalities you need to follow.
And you can't have a Dewey.
You cannot have a DUI. You cannot have a felony. There's a bunch of people that can't go to Canada.
Yep.
For sure. They're very strict. If you have a even if it's not a felony, but I'm pretty sure if you have an assault of any kind or a domestic, anything like that, like there's a whole bunch of things you can't go for. And I think it's just international travel in general, though, Carter.
I think so, yeah.
But I don't think the Dewey is like, in Mexico, I think you can go to like Mexico with a Dewey.
Yeah, I think Canada
is pretty strict specifically on like, DUIs and some of that other stuff. Like,
check.
So check it. Yeah, definitely check if you have been in trouble with the law.
They don't just
in
let
any
you through.
way, which there's a lot of degenerate waterfowl hunters.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys listening would need to check some regulations.
Yep.
But that said, if you feel like you meet all the requirements, don't be afraid to go to Canada. I just want to say that.
I agree.
I think if you legitimately if you've done enough research that you can find forums or you've listened to podcasts or heard people talk about different places in Canada that they've been or that are traditionally like a successful area to go hunt, do a little research. You can't use Onyx.
That's tough.
That sucks, dude.
That's the worst thing about Canada.
That sucks. They have an app. What is it called again?
It's horrible.
iHunter.
iHunter, yep.
Oh my gosh, you guys. iHunter is, and I'm not trying to rip.
Use that and you'll see why Onyx is the best.
That's right. When you go to Canada, you will download this thing called iHunter, and you have to buy each zone. You can't just see all of Saskatchewan or all of Alberta. You have to buy each specific zone you want to see, and once you buy it, it is 100 times more confusing than Onyx. It is not user-friendly. The app barely fucking works, and in Canada, you barely have enough service to use it anywhere.
Yep.
Which legitimately, like some of lately, I've been thinking about getting a Starlink.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Like I've legit thought, like maybe a Starlink would just be worth it for us to have so we could just travel with it.
For sure. On those
Just no
type
matter
of
what.
trips.
That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the Starlink, especially if you have an iPhone, you can get iMessage no matter what.
Yep.
You can make Wi-Fi phone calls. So even if you did get to a place and there's no cell service, if you had a Starlink, you'd be able to text, you'd be able to do emails. And dude, I've got buddies that have Starlink that said it's faster than their regular internet.
Yep.
I mean, Starlink is insane as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it seems great.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to like use it or see it at all?
I haven't used it. I know a few photographers that have it and
Yeah.
have used it, and they really like it.
Yeah, Helms has it.
Mm-hmm. And then trying to remember his name. He's from Wisconsin. Can't remember his name right now, but he has it too.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that Starlink's insane. It's like $150 a month. Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Did you see that? Did you see that thing about them potentially coming out with a phone
No, I did not.
at some point? So all your cell service and everything would be through Starlink,
That'd be sick.
which would mean you'd have cell service everywhere all the time, no matter what,
That'd be sick.
unless you were completely obstructed by tree cover or something.
They should just sell that as a phone plan for your current like iPhones and stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm betting that there's potential for that in the future.
That would be awesome.
That'd be crazy.
Yep.
I think that if they did that, you legit would see people go out of business.
Oh yeah,
Like
100%.
Isn't Verizon like right now, didn't they like have a bunch of outages because they didn't pay power bills or something?
Something like that.
Nuts.
Do you have Verizon?
I don't. I
had it,
AT&T.
and mine didn't go down, but I know
Yeah,
a lot
some
of people's did. Yeah.
Nuts. Anyway, Starlink might be a sick option for travel.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to like Canada because, you know, you'd have service. You'd have at least Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Which would be very nice. You know, the other thing about Canada too is like you can find Airbnbs. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But like you could find an Airbnb in Canada.
People do live up there.
Yes.
It's
They
crazy.
do. A lot less people than you might think, actually.
Way less.
Which is kind of crazy to imagine because when you think about like a bigger North Dakota that's more open with more fields, you kind of imagine not many people living there, but there's really not a lot of people there.
More fields, less people.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's not by a little.
No, it's by a lot.
No, it's by a lot. A lot more than North Dakota.
Yep.
Which, that's already a staggering situation.
Yep.
Pretty nuts. It does feel a little isolating at times.
Oh yeah.
Like in Canada, you can very much feel kind of alone, like you're the last people on Earth kind of out there.
Yep.
Which you will see people, like you'll go around, you'll get permission and stuff, but it is crazy how few people you see. And I think the crazier part is like, there's not very many like well put together towns.
No, just that one you drive through. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few.
Yeah, but
obviously.
there's not a
You know,
lot
like,
of big towns.
There's some for sure, but yeah, a lot of the areas, and especially it makes sense, but where you're going to be hunting out there,
Nothing.
dude, there's like nothing out there.
Maybe a gas station if you're
Get
lucky.
your groceries on the way through because you might not be seeing them for. It won't be easy to get to them. You might have to drive a half hour just to get to like a shitty gas station with some bare essentials.
Yep.
But I just wanted to mention on the pod for sure to people, you can go to Canada.
It's possible.
And on top of that, you can go anywhere in the country and you can hunt ducks.
Yep.
It's not, if you find an area that is enough rural and has enough water and birds in it that you have opportunities to go and get permission and it's not a lottery draw system, you can go there and hunt birds and be successful.
Yep.
People go there, people that live there hunt public all the time, right? And they have success. Sure, they have tough days. And don't go to a place that has no birds.
Yep.
But if you're going to an area that has birds and you have public land for sure, you can for sure go there and hunt ducks.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of guys get, kind of timid and a little bit concerned about like big traveling trips. And it's kind of weird too, because when we meet people at like game fair and stuff, I will hear a lot of people be like, no, I haven't gone on any trips. I just don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how that starts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you go to a place, you have to find the roost, you have to find feeds, and you just want to learn what those birds are doing, if they're loafing or not. And that's pretty much anywhere you go, no matter what. And because they're migratory birds, it's unlike anything else because they don't have to be there and they might be in different fields or different places. So if you can do it at home, you can do it somewhere else.
Yeah. I know North Dakotans aren't going to want to hear this, but it's a good place to dip your toes in. If you're from Minnesota, this area, it's a good place to start out.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, even Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are public bodies of water, right? You can go hunt.
Yep.
So just make sure you're following the laws. You're not within 500 feet of somebody's home. It's a public launch. It's a public location. You're not in city limits. If you can check those boxes and you know that there's birds there, dude, you can go and travel wherever you want, and you can go in on public land, and as long as you follow the rules, you'll be just fine.
Yep.
You're going to have a chance to go shoot birds. And Canada is no different. As long as you know their regulations and their rules and you're serious about it, you can definitely go to Canada, and you can get permission, and you can hunt. You can do it.
For sure.
Without a doubt. Is there anything that you think people should know or that you would have done differently, like the first time or going to Canada? Like any little tips or tricks or...
Don't take a really crappy car all the way by yourself in one trip.
Oh, yeah. You almost died.
I almost died. Yeah, it was
There
rough.
was that 10-foot pothole.
It was huge. I almost lost a tire. It was crazy.
Yeah. The roads in Canada are not as good.
No.
There are some stretches when you're driving there that you'll
bump.
You will bump.
Yep.
For sure, some bumps.
If you have bad suspension or anything like that, be careful.
Really bad.
Gravel roads might be a good option for some places.
Crazy to think you'd be driving a lot of your trip in a gravel road, but you might be.
I did like an hour and a half on my way back because I knew this stretch of highway
was
messed
terrible.
up my car. Yep.
Yeah. Messed
it up worse than it was somehow.
Dude, when I got in that car and rode in it, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, it's still like that.
It's not as bad, but it's still crazy.
Bad, yeah.
It's still bad. Has it gotten back to worse again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
After the fix, it didn't take long. Oh, every person that gets in that car comments like, "Wow." Like I drove my mom out to the farm and she's like, "You should not be driving this."
I told you, Carter.
I know.
But
Buy
your
me a new
dad's
car
the one
then.
that fixed it.
Yeah, it was great for a good month or two.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's scary.
Yep.
Don't take that to Canada.
No, I've got the black car now. We're good.
That's bad.
Yep, that's real bad.
All right, guys, this podcast is brought to you by Migra Ammunitions. Migra is the originator of the stacked load. If you don't know what this is, go to their website, migraammo.com. You guys can see an actual depiction of how this looks in the shell. But I'm telling you guys, the 2.4 is what Joey and I shoot all year. 20 gauge, 12 gauge. The 1.3 is a great load too. The 1.3 is pretty awesome if you're shooting like late season big fat geese. I don't think you need much more than that. You can go 2BB, but 2.4 legitimately all year long. Ducks, geese, 20 and 12, best ammo we've shot. Super consistent, so go check that out. Okay, Carter, I know you had some questions for me, some listener questions that we were going to go through tonight. I think we should go through a few of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's do it.
If you could pick 1 week to hunt the entire season, what week would it be?
Okay. Great question. Is this just for where we're at for home?
Whatever you would like. If you want to do a week in Texas, you can do that.
Wow.
Or if you want to be a homebody, you can do that.
I think I'm gonna just say what I would want to do in Minnesota.
Okay.
Because I think if I had like to try to think through every state in the United
It's a lot
States,
tougher.
It's like
there's a lot of states.
Yeah, it would be a lot of statistics. I'd really have to like poke my brain through that. And I don't think that, I've traveled and hunted a lot of places, and like I could give you some general times of the year that it would be good, but like trying to pick a single week in a lot of these states that I'm not like 100% familiar with, be really tough.
Yeah.
I would say probably the first week of November, last week of October, maybe in like Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin.
Doing what?
Hunt ducks, hunting migrating mallards, hopefully.
Water, field?
Either one. Whatever you have the better chance in. If it was just like me picking, you're getting me into like what's my ideal hunt setup.
Yeah.
But it's more so if you're just talking about a week of the year.
Okay. That would be my pick for Minnesota too.
First week of November?
First week in November. Not last week of October, because you can still get that October grossness.
Yeah, the last week of October in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Probably pretty good, but it really depends too. Like you can get fucked in North Dakota in October. You can have it. It can be really bad there.
Yep.
For sure. So I think you're right. I would say let's narrow it down. First week of November in Minnesota would be a solid option. I think that's your best chance. If you're hunting in Minnesota, that's one of your best chances to shoot migrating mallards.
Yes, on a normal year.
And if that's the case, then since you asked me about my setup in that situation, you're probably talking about hunting water.
Gross. Okay.
I mean, a dry field mallard hunt is awesome, but when they're migrating like that, it really depends on the day. It depends on the situation, and you know it's true.
I get it.
I mean, there are some great, like, first week of November on water. Like, I mean, when you can decoy 50 packs of mallards on water, that's epic.
I get it, but 200 packs of mallards
In a field? No, that's
way
epic
cooler
too.
to me.
It's really epic too.
It's just personal
It's just
preference
different.
at that
Totally,
point.
it's personal preference. But first week of November.
Yeah, but I'm right.
Okay.
Next question.
Just chill the fuck out.
How much scouting do you do leading up to the season?
I mean, quite a bit. It's probably more like, depends on what kind of scouting you're talking about. I would say it's more so like, I'm trying to get a good feel for
Your area?
what crops are out.
Okay. You can do that on Onyx now?
You can do that on Onyx. You can get
Yep.
recent imagery, or I can just drive my lazy ass down the road for those ones. If we're talking about scouting preseason, like for my area,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go out and just get an idea of, like, I guess if I'm being honest, how many fields are corn.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing here. So I want to go out and just find out, like, what local fields that I've had permission on in the past, or that I know somebody who has permission on, or whatever, how many of them are corn.
Okay.
And then probably second thing, like, if you're scouting before season, how many of these fields can I hunt early season?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, grass, hay, I'm just looking for, like, or crop that I think might get pulled early.
Yep.
And that's more of probably what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can kind of go around during early season, and it's a good time to, like, go and talk to farmers.
Yeah.
Go talk to landowners and just, hey, you've been given permission the last 3 years. Can I still hunt this year? Just making sure that
Yep.
you got stuff kind of figured out. Even if you don't know if you're going to hunt a field,
Lock it
like,
down.
just go and ask them right now. Especially if you've had the permission before, just make a drive, pick a Saturday, and don't, go scout. Just drive to every farm you've ever gotten permission from, or every landowner, and just go to them and make sure you can still hunt there.
That's what I will say. So out in western Minnesota, a lot of our, like, early goose season, you're looking for wheat fields because
Yeah.
there's not a ton of them around.
Yeah.
And I'll get the same call every year from my buddy that lives out there saying how much he hates hunting opener because everybody has every wheat field locked down
Yeah.
for the month before.
Right.
Next week, it's all open.
Oh, yeah,
These people just hunt opener.
for sure.
So those wheat fields are big time there.
Yep.
But if you're starting out hunting, I personally hunt the second weekend, not the first.
Oh, hunt them both.
If you can, hunt them both.
Yeah.
But second weekend is a lot easier to get permission.
Yeah, not only that, but, like, I mean, realistically, another thing that I think you should be doing if you are going to be, especially if you're like a new hunter trying to figure stuff out, a lot of people start on water cutter. I know you didn't, and I know that it's not your preference, but I think for the listener's sake alone, a lot of people start on water. I started hunting on water. Joey started hunting on water for the most part. Like, a lot of people, your background is hunting water. If you're hunting water, then you need to go scout those areas.
I guess.
And what you want to do during preseason too, if you're like hunting, if you know you're going to be hunting water, go in and see what the bow launch looks like. Go and get a good look at that lake. Look at it on NX. Pick out spots that you think you could hunt depending on the wind. And then use the radius on your waypoint. Set it to 500 feet. Figure out how far away all the houses are so that you can figure out which spots on that lake you actually could hunt. I think that's a great way to figure some stuff out.
That makes sense.
And
Yep.
that's a big thing to do. And when I hunted a lot of water or was getting familiar with some of that stuff, I was doing that all the time.
Okay.
Just going around, are there birds on this lake? Are there birds on that lake? And you want to see how many of those lakes are like roosts.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Yeah.
want to go and hunt the south end of a lake when the geese are piled in there in the morning.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
yeah.
I was just talking from my field hunting
Yeah.
perspective
Oh yeah. No.
only.
And that is true.
Yeah.
From your perspective, that's all true information,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Next question, kind of piggybacking off that. How much scouting do you do during the season?
During the season, it's a lot more, obviously.
Yep.
I would say the biggest thing about during the season, too, is especially when you're talking about scouting locally.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's two different things, and, Joey and I travel a lot to hunt.
Yep.
So there's kind of two different, rules of thumb
So if you want to hunt a Saturday, when do you start scouting for that hunt?
all week.
All week?
Yeah, all week. More than anything, too, it's like you kind of start once you get a good feel for your area, you obviously know where the roost typically is. You know where birds are typically going to loaf some of the time. A lot of the time you can't hunt those spots. Early season, you know where birds are feeding a lot because they're like in baseball fields or something.
Yep.
If it's geese especially. So during season, though, a lot of it is like, let me take the long way home.
Yep.
And drive, an extra 20 miles and just take a good look at like my surrounding area.
Yep. That's what I did a lot, is just take different ways home.
Yeah, just taking different ways home. And you kind of get a good beat on like, oh, this could be a field because of your preseason scouting.
Yep.
You could say like, oh, I know that these 10 fields are corn. I know traditionally these fields have corn and they're good fields for it. Those are some things where then you're like, all right, well, I'll just take this long loop home and go look at those corn fields. Let's just see what's getting pulled and what's not. And the thing is, too, is like if you're in an area like us, when a field gets pulled, birds are fine. They're going to find that field.
Yep. Right away.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a minute. Sometimes it's like immediate.
Yep.
And so if I know just driving home, if I see a field that got pulled, but there's no birds in it, I want to see that field every day now.
Watch that for 3 days. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see that field every day for the next week just to know what's in it.
Yep.
So I think during season, that's probably a lot of what's happening. When you go on trips, your time is like almost completely dedicated to scouting.
Yeah. If you're not hunting, you're scouting.
Yeah. If you're freelancing somewhere, you go on a trip somewhere and you're going to freelance, like you literally are scouting and then the next day you're hunting. A lot of people don't realize this. When we go on a trip, usually the first day is all scouting.
Yep.
Like we don't just show up and like, let's find a public spot and like go in and hunt. You show up the next morning when you get up, the first thing you do is you scout.
Yep.
And you go and you scout all fucking day. And if you don't find anything, you scout that whole day. And sometimes I've even been on trips to like North Dakota where you scout the entire day and you don't have anything great yet. And then the next morning you wake up and you scout again.
Gotta.
Yeah. I mean, so your time is completely consumed pretty much by scouting. And you're scouting, if you're not finding fields, you're scouting pretty much sun up to sundown. You might take a couple hours in the middle of the day for lunch.
Yep.
But you're just trying to find birds. So yeah. Okay.
All right. And then we've kind of touched on this already, but your favorite setup to hunt. No matter the state, no matter the time of the year, you pick it. If you want, I can go first. I know
you go
mine.
first.
Mine would be early November in Minnesota. Cut cornfield, not tilled yet.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, my. Speaking of that, I drove home last weekend. The amount of fields that weren't fully out yet but had a tiller in the field, unreal.
Oh, yeah, no, they till it the minute they pull it.
Unreal.
They take it off, and they run the tiller behind it.
They didn't even have the headlands done in this one field, and there was a tiller behind it. Insane.
Bro, they till that shit as fast as they cut it.
It makes no sense.
It's insane. It's insane. The craziest part to me about tilling is that some places believe in it, and some places don't.
It's illegal in New York.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And we till our land. I mean...
You are very lucky to find a field that isn't tilled in Minnesota.
If it's pulled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very lucky.
Insane.
It's crazy.
But back to the scenario. Yes. Cut cornfield, not tilled, with about 2 to 3 spinners, 24 goose decoys and layouts, 30 degrees, mallards. No duck decoys because that don't matter.
Spinners, though.
Spinners for sure.
Yep.
No full body field mallards. Waste
Goose
of time.
decoys.
Yep.
2 to 3 dozen?
Goose decoys, yeah.
36 of them. Yep. That's all you want.
Yep.
36 full body decoys, spinners.
Yep. My area, most of the time.
That's enough.
If you're not hunting an X of geese, they're not going to traffic over. So it's like, whatever. It's enough for the ducks to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the best hunts, in my opinion. If I could do that every day, the entire hunting season, I would.
Would you rather do that or run an X field for geese?
Oh, the ducks in the dry field by
traffic
far.
Ducks in a dry field.
Oh, no, it's the X.
No, I'm saying would you rather traffic ducks in an X field or hunt the X for geese?
That's a lot tougher. I would say hunt the X for geese if I'm trafficking the mallards. They don't like to traffic super well out there. They're kind of set.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm hunting an X for geese, that's normally pretty good, depending on what group of birds you're hunting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For sure. All right. My ideal setup. I mean, probably that first week in November, but I'd probably be in a
water boy.
I would be in the water.
Water boy.
Like a big open lake or something. Yeah, anything that's like open, and there's some other stuff that's getting a little bit freezy.
Yep.
But a lot of the time, early November, that's not the case anymore. But they still are using a lot of bigger bodies of water. So
Yep.
yeah, you'd probably catch me like that'd be my favorite way to do it. I don't know. I just getting in a boat, to me, it just feels right.
That just feels so wrong to me.
I grew up on a lake.
Yeah,
I grew up on a lake. I grew up on the water. I spent my entire childhood like living in the fucking water.
You saw the one time I was in a lake in my childhood, so.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, it was not.
No, have we released that clip at all
Nope.
anywhere?
Not going to happen.
I think we should probably show people that.
Don't think we should.
Let's just say someone doesn't like any seaweed.
Carter was not a lake.
Let's just say Carter's not a seaweed
The
guy.
Denies were not a lake family. Put it that way.
Clearly not a lake family.
Yep. The only two memories I have of water in childhood is that. And we were on the boat one time, and I lost my Lightman McQueen car and cried. Those are my two memories of water before, like, I was older.
Lost a toy car.
I was driving on the side of the pontoon.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Yeah. Not my situation.
I can tell.
I grew up my whole life on a lake, tubing, fishing, skiing, all of it. So, to me, I'm very comfortable on the water. Feel very at home there. So that would be my ideal setup. And it's not to say that if I wasn't like scouting and I found a dry field for mallards that was absolutely loaded, that I wouldn't hunt the dry field.
Yep.
It's just saying, like, if I just randomly have to pick like a situation that feels like true duck hunting where I'm just like in my element.
Yep.
That's it.
Sounds good. And
Okay.
our final question.
All right.
What is one weather factor or scenario that'll make you call in sick to work and be in the blind?
Okay, I mean, my initial knee-jerk reaction, I want to say something like a 25-mile-per-hour northwest wind. You know what I mean?
That's
Let me get one. Let me get one that people don't like get
the
as
deep
often. Okay, here's a deep cut. A snowstorm that kind of appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, like you might have like a 30% chance of snow, and suddenly that 30% chance of snow turns into like, okay, for the next hour, it's gonna dump snow. There's nowhere I would rather be than a fucking field.
Yep, because the birds aren't expecting it.
The birds are
either.
not expecting it, and they are going to eat.
Yep.
A lot of the time, they're going to eat frantically. They're not going to pay as much attention to what they're doing.
They're going to be dumb.
They're going to be dumb.
They're going to be
They're
dumb.
going to be dumb. And some of my favorite hunts have happened when you think you have like maybe a quarter inch or like a dusting of snow coming, and then it turns out that for like 1 hour, that snow is like 3 inches.
Yep.
And it just dumps on you.
Yep.
And right as that snow is starting to get going bad, the geese or ducks just become like a shell of themselves. Like they're just so dumb. So I would say, yeah, like if I was going to play hooky from work, legitimately, like if it was like, okay, it's going to start snowing at like 7:30 a.m., I would maybe just start out that morning thinking like maybe I might be a little late to work.
Yep.
And then if it's like 6 a.m. and they change the prediction and they're like, nah, we're going to get like 2-3 inches in like an hour and a half, I'm probably not going to work that morning.
No, that is a great call. I really like that one.
Yeah.
That's because they get dumb.
That's a deep cut.
Yep, they get.
That's
dumb.
not as common of an answer, but
No, everybody in
that
Minnesota's molt migrators. Blah blah blah.
I
blah.
love late season.
Yep.
December, grind them till they're dirty and gone.
No mosquitoes.
No mosquitoes. Cold out, but not like cry your ass off cold.
Yep.
Like 20 degrees. 15 to 20 degrees.
Yep.
Solid, and you get a 7:30 a.m. snowstorm that could turn into a bunch fast. Yeah, I love that scenario for me.
Great call.
That's a sick scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are, is that all of them? Is that 5?
That's all of them.
Okay, we'll do some more of those at some point.
Send them
For
over
sure.
on Instagram.
Send them on Instagram. If there's any questions you guys want us to answer, send them over. We'll try and pick some out. We save a bunch of them, and then when we have opportunities, we'll slide them in.
Yep.
Guys, this podcast is brought to you by Turtlebox. Turtlebox is one of my favorite things to have in my truck at all times now because they are rugged and they're waterproof. That's as simple as it gets.
Yep.
Just having a speaker that you don't feel afraid to bring out if it's going to rain or when you're hunting, that's basically the only speaker I know of that you can do that with. Any other Bluetooth speaker, there's some waterproof ones, but I don't think anything is even remotely as built as the Turtlebox is, so go check them out. Turtleboxaudio.com. You're going to love them.
Giveaway coming soon.
Giveaway coming soon in October.
In October.
We're going to do a giveaway in October. Stay tuned. We'll announce next week.
On
the podcast.
On the podcast.
We'll announce on the podcast next week, which will be October 23rd.
Yep.
You'll have 1 week to enter. We'll do it on Halloween.
Perfect.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Just so everybody knows now.
So keep us accountable.
Not this podcast, but the 23rd of October when our pod comes out. Or no, is it 24th?
It'll be the one we're recording
the 17th,
in Canada.
Yeah. So the 17th, the 24th. Well, yes, it'll be the 24th. So when you listen to the Thursday, the 24th podcast, listen for a way to enter for a Turtle Box giveaway.
So make sure to tune in to next week's pod.
That's right. All right, Carter. What do we have next? We have the draft?
We got the draft.
Okay, let's draft, dude.
This week's draft is months of the year.
Oh, boy. Holy shit. We saved this one for a night that Joey wasn't here because you'd have been annoyed.
Yep. He's the worst drafter
Months.
ever.
He's pretty bad at it.
Yeah.
He's not here, so I feel like we can say that about him.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say it to him in person as well.
Yep.
But once we started putting the actual list of things you draft up, turns out Joey is really bad at drafting.
Yeah, he hasn't won one since we did
Correct.
that. Yep.
I think he's gotten last, actually, in every one of them.
Every one. Yep.
Okay. So even if he was here, he'd be getting last.
Yep.
So we will draft our top months of the year.
Yep.
And we're going to do 4 each.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
You go first.
So we'll leave out 4 months. No, you go first.
Me go first.
You go first. Unless you want me to go first.
No, I'll go first.
Okay.
My first one's got to be November.
Damn.
It's
great pick.
I think it's the best month.
Great pick.
You get a holiday in there.
Yep.
You get the tail end of our duck season.
Yep.
You get the start up of our goose season when it's getting better.
Yep.
On off years, you can start ice fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You get deer hunting.
No, yeah. Dude, trust me. I knew you were going to say that.
I think it's the clear 1-1.
It has to be the 1-1, right?
I think so.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say my 1-1 is September. You get the start of football season.
Okay.
On college and NFL has started up.
Yep.
You get the opener for duck. You get early goose season. You get migrators. Okay. It's still warm. It's still decent weather out. The first part of September, you have a lot of fun stuff happening still. For us in Minnesota, at least. You have like the state fair. There's a lot of concerts going on. Right?
Okay.
Like
Yep.
you're wrapping up summer.
Yep.
It's still pretty chill vibes going into the year. Right? You get excited for duck opener because no matter what, even though it's hot and sticky, you're with all the boys.
Yep.
Duck opener's fun. You get to watch the NFL every week.
Yeah.
September's
I can get
a good
behind
month.
that. Yep. I can get behind it.
Yeah.
I think my next one then would have to be December
Okay, that was going to be my next one.
because you get the holiday.
You're getting all my favorite holidays right now. It's really fucked up.
Perfect.
But
You get the holiday of Christmas,
yes,
which
the
some
best,
people
the
like,
best,
some
the
don't.
best holiday.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? We should do a
Well, that'll be a
draft of
different one.
holidays.
Yep. You get that.
I love it.
You get the end of our goose season.
Yeah.
You get the ramp up of ice fishing.
Yep.
If you're thinking back in time, school gets out for a good 10 days for Christmas
True.
break. That's
True.
big time.
Big time.
Big time.
Yep.
And
A lot of family around.
a lot of family, which
Yep.
depending on your family, good or bad,
A lot of good food.
a lot of good food.
Yep.
You get New Year's Eve. That's
Yes.
a big one.
Yep.
You do get New Year's
Do
Eve.
you tick that one
Yep.
off the box?
Yeah, I think it's a great month. It's good
Yeah.
hunting, good
Yep.
family,
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
and good football.
Yeah. All right. My second favorite month.
So where it gets dicey.
This is where it's already falling off. Man, this is just tough. It's hard because there's months that you want to say because of certain aspects, but then other aspects of those months are just trash.
Yep. There's only like 3 months here I'd just question your life if you said them.
I'm going to say June.
That was about one of the 3. Why?
Okay, June is a great month
Why?
because it's the start of summer. Okay, because you've already taken up pretty much the 3 best months of hunting.
Yep.
Now, I will have other. I'm not going to say the other ones that I'm thinking about maybe picking.
Yep.
June, it's not too hot. The start of June, there's usually not very many bugs out in Minnesota. You get a lot of sports in June.
Yep.
You get great summer weather. You're excited about summer in June. You're really excited. The boat is a thing all of a sudden. You're
Yep.
fishing a lot more in June.
Yep.
Okay. You have a lot more like cookouts. You're grilling almost every night in June. It just like feels like summer. And when summer hits, when May is done, June is like you have 3 months to be free.
I guess. My only complaint there is the last week of June is a rough week.
I'm also a little biased because June is my birthday month.
Okay.
June, yeah. So
yeah,
like,
you got a little bias there.
a little bit of bias there.
Yeah.
You don't want to. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to ruin my other picks. But
Yep.
okay, so that was my second month, and that's. I guess I'm probably going to lose this because my bias is because my birthday's in June.
Yeah.
But it's also.
It's not a bad month.
It's not a bad month at all. Okay,
No.
you go 3.
I mean, I feel like I have to take it because it's still up there. October.
That's a terrible month.
I agree.
October sucks.
But you got
it's the worst.
The worst?
It's not the worst, but it's bad. It's a bad month.
It's not the greatest month. That's why it's 5.
The hunting's terrible.
Well, see, here's the thing. You got to listen here. Start of pheasant hunting, which is very fun.
Okay.
Out in western Minnesota.
Okay.
And out there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got deer hunting. A lot of archery you can start doing.
Yep.
Mosquitoes start dying off. You get the occasional good hunt in Minnesota for like mallards. Occasional.
The weather sucks.
The weather does suck.
You're always mad at the weather.
Yep. That is a downside. This is a good time to travel to like other states, North Dakota, Canada. It's a great time for Canada.
Yeah, but it still sucks here.
Yeah, but
October sucks.
October, I'm not saying Minnesota October.
October's there's so many other there's so many other months that I'm thinking of, and
You'll get to them then. And you get Halloween, which is fun as a kid.
I hate Halloween.
As a kid, you hated Halloween?
No, as a kid, I loved Halloween.
Okay,
Now
yeah.
as an adult, I'm just like,
Yeah, obviously. But as a kid,
it's the devil's holiday.
yeah. You start to get that fall time football. October is a good football month. This is like when I remember back my childhood. It's Sunday nights, not doing my homework, watching October football.
Sunday night football.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
That I can vibe with
Yep.
for sure. Football's
those would
pretty
be
good.
my October reasons. I know
Okay.
there's some downside, but
There are definitely some downsides.
Yep.
Hunting's terrible. The weather's terrible. You just want to get to November. I think the reason I don't like October is because duck opener is over. The hunting's going to suck for a month. And all I want to do is enjoy November and December.
See, that's where you go to other hunting. That's for my pheasant hunter and deer hunters out there. You shoot a lot of
Yeah.
big deer this time.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's true. If you're a deer hunter, October probably doesn't suck.
For archery.
I don't hunt deer, so October just sucks.
What's your next one?
My next one. I want to say January. The only reason I want to say January, because January makes me want to never, ever go back to Minnesota.
Yep.
I hate Minnesota, but we do a lot of traveling in January. And hunting around the country in January,
Good.
other places, is typically on fire.
Yep.
So I get really excited, especially because like December, Christmas, I know this is going to probably ruin the draft later, but Christmas is my favorite holiday. And I love hanging out with my family and doing like Christmas is like a big thing for me. So Christmas, as soon as Christmas is over, you're like, I got so much awesome time with my family. Got to hang out with everybody. Like I got to do the whole Christmas thing. And I'm a Christian, so like Christmas is an awesome part of that too. But then as soon as it's over, you're like, yeah, and I'm probably not going to be here very much in January because the hunting's amazing everywhere else.
Yep.
So I think that's why I get fired up about January. If I was like strictly like basing these months off of only living in Minnesota, January might be the last month on my list. If I'm
It's
being
one
honest,
of them. Yep.
because it makes me not want to live here anymore.
Yep.
Okay.
My,
Last one.
Yeah. I got to think here.
Yeah, this is tough.
I got to think the body of work
We're
I've
getting
got
down
here.
to the nitty gritty.
'Cause
You did say that June was one of the 3 you wouldn't pick, so
June's-
that does leave some open options.
Yeah. See, because I've got a lot of hunting months. I think I need to diversify my portfolio here.
Right.
I'm between
That's
two.
why I
here.
went with June.
Yep. I'm between two. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go May.
Wow.
I think May. You
I
got
can-
fishing opener.
I can confidently say May is maybe the second to last list on my month. The weather, I hate. Like, just leaving the house in May, you're like, it's wet constantly. Everything is a mud pit in May.
No, not recently. This last May was perfect.
Okay, 1 year.
Recency bias.
Typically May
Recency
sucks.
bias.
Okay. No, all right. I'm gonna hear you. I want to hear you.
I think April sucks more than May, even though that's the month I get married in. I
got married in April too.
Yeah.
But April typically is like pretty poo-poo.
Yeah. I think May, you get the start of fishing.
Yeah.
You get turkey.
Yeah.
Which I'm becoming more of a fan of.
It's a great month to get married.
Yeah.
April
is, yep.
May probably too, but yeah, okay, continue.
I like that weather a little bit more.
Yeah.
That like low 50s, 60s.
No,
That's better weather to me than
That's
like
a nice weather.
June, which is like 80s, gross.
It's a nice weather.
Or January. Wow, that's bad.
Yep.
But I like a good May. A bad May, that's bad.
Yeah.
Good May though. It's a good May.
Good May.
Yep.
Okay. That wouldn't have been on my list.
Yep. I could tell.
All. That would have been probably bottom 3. Okay, I'm gonna go with August.
That was probably my next one, but why?
I feel so excited for duck hunting in August.
So it's nothing about the month. It's just what you're excited
for. No, Game Fair is really fun.
Yeah.
Like it's show season.
Yeah.
So like I think August is a really exciting time of the year. You're seeing a ton of old friends, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know.
With Game Fair.
Yeah, with Game Fair and then the Coyote Creek calling contest and like Scott from Mulkear usually has a party and yeah, like August has a ton of fun stuff.
Yep, you got North Dakota
There's
geese.
a lot of North Dakota geese. There's a lot of like there's just a lot of things about getting ready for waterfowl and like prepping for the year and finalizing plans and you're talking to buddies again, seeing a bunch of people from hunting. Football is starting. We have some preseason stuff. We have games in August.
Yeah.
College football starts in August.
Yep. If you want to watch the Hall of Fame game, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's a terrible game for sure. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I get excited in August. I get excited for the rest of my year. A lot of people get annoyed when they live in Minnesota because once you get to like August, it means you're coming up on fall and then winter.
Yep.
And people hate winter here. But hunting's a big part of our lives, so
that makes
I get
sense.
excited about
August is my birthday month, but my local county fair was always on my birthday, so I kind of hated August.
Oh,
and then
a bummer.
That's when school starts. Kind of sucked.
It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
You don't need the fair on your birthday.
Every year.
That's the thing. Every year on your birthday, bro, you have to go to the fair to celebrate your birthday, and everyone thinks that's fun for you because it's easy for them because they're like, oh, yeah, we don't have to do anything special, really. We can just go to the fair with Carter.
The worst.
That's a bummer. But now it's usually during Game Fair.
Yep. That's fun.
That's fun.
That's fun.
That is fun.
Yep. August
too much
isn't
fun
a bad
sometimes.
thing. Well, no, not too much fun. The right amount.
The right amount of fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would have been your lowest?
Probably February. Maybe May.
Really? Mine probably would have been March or July.
March I get excited for because usually you start hunting snow geese.
Who cares?
Yeah, but it just still feels like at least you're like hanging on. And March is like turnaround time because usually the weather is better than February and January, like less cold at least.
I guess, but there's
January,
nothing to do in
bro,
Minnesota.
if you stay here in Minnesota for January and February, by the time you get to March, 30 degrees is like shorts weather.
I get that. But for me, out in western Minnesota, there is nothing to do if you're not hunting or fishing. And March was the worst because you don't get snow geese.
Mm-hmm.
Fishing is closed.
I almost always go on a vacation in March.
That makes sense because it sucks.
Because then if you get like, even if snow goose hunting, which I agree is my least favorite type of waterfowl hunting.
Yep.
But if you get to go snow goose hunt for like 4 or 5 days, and then I get to go to like Mexico or something for 7 days, now 11 days of my month are at least pretty fucking awesome.
I guess.
In March.
Yep.
So that's why I guess March doesn't hit. It's not like, obviously it wasn't one of the top 8 months of the year, but
it was either that or July. July's just bad.
the only thing about July is that the 4th of July.
Yeah, but that's
4th of July is
one day
awesome.
out of 30 days.
Yeah, but it's such a great day.
It's great, but
the 4th of July is probably my second favorite holiday. Because I would say, oh, yeah, see, we shouldn't do this because we'll
No,
draft
no,
it.
no.
We'll draft holidays.
Yep.
Okay.
You can vote
Anyway.
on our Instagram story who you think
Yes.
won.
Yeah, go vote between me and Carter.
Yep. We
Mm.
know who the winner is.
It's me.
It's me.
It's probably you.
Yeah, it
We'll
should
see.
be.
It should be you.
I got more hunting months. I should
Yeah,
win.
no, you got November and you
October
got
and
December. No, you got November and December, and
Yep.
those are the 2 months you needed,
Yep.
in my book at least.
Yep.
So
You got
I
January,
like
which will
right when
swing the
Halloween
southern-
hits, I get really excited.
Yep.
Because I'm like, oh, November's awesome, football is awesome, Thanksgiving is awesome.
Did you see next week we're supposed to have great weather
I did.
when we leave?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
should be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we head out, guys, just want to say, Ducks Unlimited right now is doing everything they can to conserve resources for duck hunters across the country. They're trying to make sure that we have ducks all around the United States. So go get a membership right now. In Minnesota, you can get a gun calendar. And if you get a gun calendar, you have a very damn good chance of winning a gun, A. And B, it goes towards a membership for the year. So go get that.
Just tell your wife you're losing money if you
Yeah.
don't buy it.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
I think they're like $65 or $70. I should know this for sure.
They're basically free once you win a gun.
But the membership's $35.
Yeah.
And it's only for Minnesota. They're giving away like hundreds of guns, guys. It's crazy. So
Go
go
buy
check
one.
it out. Go check it out. Thank you to Ducks Unlimited for supporting what we're doing. And last but not least, Flashback 2.0. If you guys have not seen these decoys yet, please go check them out. They're unbelievable. They're built like a brick shit house. You can replace the parts. These decoys are built to last, guys. You're going to love them. The head swivels through the water, comes back out, and it makes the butt go up in the air. We will put a video on our Instagram story of these things when we're using them in Canada. You're going to freak out. They're super cool. So go check them out. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Be sure to subscribe and review. We'll be back next week with another pod and a Turtle Box giveaway. So make sure to check that out. And one more thing, Carter.